Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good evening. College is a time of self-discovery, and that includes understanding our bodies and sexual health. By normalizing conversations around STD testing and safe sex practices, we create a supportive environment where knowledge and well-being go hand in hand. Today, I stand before you to address a critical issue that affects the well-being of many individuals, safe sex practices, and regular testing for sexually transmitted diseases or STDs. Now, did you know that young people aged 15 to 24 years old, listed here, account for nearly half of all new STD infections? This statistic provided by the CDC hits close to home, underscoring the urgency of addressing this matter. It is time we recognize the importance of safeguarding our health and the health of our partners. By advocating for safe sex practices and regular testing, we can create a healthier and more responsible community. First and foremost, let us acknowledge that sexual health is an integral part of our overall well-being. We cannot afford to overlook the consequences of unsafe sexual practices. STDs not only have detrimental effects on our physical health, but also take a toll on our mental and emotional well-being as well. In a study provided by Swati and Satyendra Singh in 2021, patients that were diagnosed with STDs such as genital warts, herpes, discharge, and syphilis were studied to see if there's a link between STDs and mental health. While significant psychological distresses were observed in individuals with STDs, depression was highly observed in patients with herpes and genital warts. The burden of living with an STD can be overwhelming and could lead to long-term complications if not addressed promptly. For example, a study in 2017 published on PubMed by Rosanna Peeling and her colleagues looked deeper into individuals that had syphilis. This photo here is from Malta's sexual health site, and it breaks down the different stages Peeling looked at in her study. In Peeling's study, individuals with syphilis typically started with painless ulcers appearing, and that could be followed by rashes and lesions. If that's left untreated, syphilis can progress through the different stages you see on the screen here and affect multiple organ systems, and could even lead to fatal outcomes. Utilizing safe sex practices is not a matter of shame or taboo. It is a responsible choice. By participating in safe sex practices, we can significantly reduce the risk of contracting and spreading STDs. One method many of you may be familiar with is the use of condoms. Condoms act as a barrier against infections, providing both protection and peace of mind. According to the Cleveland Clinic in 2022, condoms are highly effective at preventing STDs such as HSV, otherwise known as herpes, and can significantly reduce the chance of transmitting HIV by 71 to 80%. Let us not forget that being responsible in the bedroom not only protects us, but also shows respect for the health and safety of our partners. Other means of protection that Planned Parenthood suggests include dental dams, internal condoms and traditional condoms, and medications such as PrEP. Regular testing for STDs is an essential aspect of maintaining sexual health. Many of these infections may not present immediate symptoms, leading to silent transmission. When a person is asymptomatic, they are not actively showing symptoms. However, according to the Mayo Clinic in 2022, an asymptomatic individual is still very capable of transmitting an STD through sexual contact to others. By getting tested regularly, we can identify infections early and seek appropriate treatment. Early detection not only improves the chances of successful treatment, but also prevents further transmission to others. Some places you may be able to find free testing include the San Diego County and Planned Parenthood. What's great about some of the places, such as the San Diego County SD Clinic, and locations are listed on the screen, is the fact that you can also get treated if you are diagnosed with an STD. For some individuals that prefer more privacy, there are places that do discrete testing as well. Moreover, encouraging and normalizing regular testing breaks down the stigma associated with STDs. Testing should not be seen as a sign of promiscuity, but rather as an act of self-care and responsibility. Embracing regular testing helps create an open dialogue about sexual health, reducing the fear and shame that often discourage people from seeking treatment. Now, some individuals might argue that if they are consistently practicing in safe sex practices, such as the use of condoms, then there's no need to be regularly tested, as seen in a study by Hedgeman and their colleagues in 2017. Others may also argue if they have contracted what they consider a severe STD, such as HIV, they feel no need to protect themselves from minor infections, which was also seen in the same study by Hedgeman in 2017. While these arguments may seem logical for some people to a certain extent, the goal here is not to provide an absolute guarantee, but to minimize risk and encourage responsible behavior. People need to understand that safe sex practices and regular testing are essential components of a holistic approach to sexual health. It's crucial to convey that no single method is infallible, and individuals should still employ multiple strategies to protect themselves and their partners. Institutional support is crucial in this endeavor as well. Schools, colleges, and other entities should provide comprehensive sexual education that emphasizes the importance of safe sex practices and regular testing. The CDC in 2020 reported that by the time young people had graduated from high school, 38% of those students have had sex. 46% of the sexually active students did not use a condom. And as seen in another study by Craig Kuhn and her colleagues in 2021, individuals that received sexual education under real-world conditions had beneficial effects on STI risk factors. Healthcare providers also play a significant role in promoting awareness and should offer accessible and non-judgmental testing services as well. To conclude, by advocating for safe sex practices and regular testing for STDs, we're not only prioritizing our well-being, but also fostering a culture of responsibility and care. Let us break the barriers of stigma and embrace a future where sexual health is a priority for everyone. Together, we can create a safer and healthier society where every individual can enjoy a fulfilling and disease-free life. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a very informative speech. Definitely cited your sources very well. Your visuals very useful, and you conveyed the overall message very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought that was a really strong speech, and your sources were also really good, and your images were super helpful and went along very well with what you were saying. So really good job.
Thank you. I appreciate the feedback.
I liked how you used like strong sources for the counter argument, and you provided like a logical counter argument to your counter argument, which I think overall improved your message and improved the strength of your argument. So nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah, it really goes along well with today's kids and today's society, because a lot of people do go through that same things and don't take the proper precautions. And yeah, you did a really good job. It seems like you practice. Your voice is very well, spoken. You had good citing or good citations for your sources.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. If you have ever dropped your phone on the floor in a public restroom, you probably think that it's now dirty. And the truth is, it is dirty. According to the Australian Academy of Science, germ transfer is instantaneous. So your phone now has the germs of whatever was on the floor. Now, if you imagine the amount of bacteria in a public restroom of all things, your phone is now horrendously contaminated. Now, imagine how dirty your shoes are, which are almost constantly in contact with the floor. My goal today is to persuade you to stop wearing shoes in your homes. And to preface this topic, I'll be going over the 3 main points of contention. First, the unsanitary nature of shoes. Second, the dangers of wearing shoes indoors. And third, the benefits of going barefoot. We first examine how the soles of your shoes accumulate germs and bacteria. Since we know that germ transfer is instant, anywhere you go, the germs on the ground can be instantly transferred to your shoes. But this doesn't only apply to your shoes. Germ transfer applies to all parts of your body and almost all surfaces. But the reason the focus is on your shoes is because they're always in contact with the ground. And according to the CBS, even though those germs don't necessarily stay on your shoes the whole time, the residual buildup of bacteria is what you are really bringing into your homes. Outdoors, you're stepping on anything from a range of dirt, fecal matter, microplastics, to things like cancer-causing toxins from asphalt roads and perfluorinated chemicals, which are chemicals that do not break down naturally, and all those sorts of bacteria. And since people spend 90% of their time indoors, adding foreign bacteria to household microbes just creates an unnecessary risk of buildup of microorganisms in your home. For example, imagine the amount of bacteria after a rainy day. According to the Australian Academy of Science again, wet surfaces transmit 1,000 times more bacteria than dry surfaces. And since the water transfers microbes from different areas, the outdoors can contain things that you may never even consider to be in your proximity. Now that we can acknowledge that bacteria on our shoes is very prevalent, how dangerous is it to our bodies really? Now, even though most of these potentially harmful bacteria wouldn't survive very long on surfaces alone, there really isn't a reason to risk bringing that into your living spaces. And according to the Wall Street Journal, they reported a study that found E. coli bacteria that is found almost everywhere, especially in mammals, which includes humans, as a micro swab from 90% of shoes. And to be put simply, these microbes are bacteria associated with feces. In that article, they did mention that since it was so widely distributed everywhere, there wasn't really a real dangerous risk to our health. And in general, the main reasoning as to why shoes indoors are okay is that introducing household germs and outdoor bacteria can be good for adult and children's immune systems. They also point out that the amount of bacteria that is brought in is so minimal compared to things like our hands that most healthy adults won't get sick. And this can actually help our body create antibodies to help fight against infections and bacteria. Though this is true, anything still has the potential to make humans very sick, and too much of anything is never good, especially things like viruses and pathogens, which are very real health risks because they can often become more drug resistant and cause illnesses that are difficult to treat. Take COVID-19, for example. According to the FDA, the virus mainly spreads through airborne transmission from small liquid particles emitted from a person's nose or mouth. But the second most common method of spreading is by touching your eyes, nose, or mouth after touching surfaces contaminated by the virus. Since your shoes may come into contact with those particles, if they are brought into your home, touching the ground or any surface where you leave your shoes can risk infecting you or your family. And putting any and all scientific evidence aside, it is just simply kind of gross, put simply, to bring that kind of filth into your homes and introduce it to your bodies, and it's just not worth the risk. Just taking off your shoes before entering your living space can prevent such dangers. Now, moving on to my third and final point, once you take your shoes off, consider going barefoot. Now, many people's main concern against going barefoot is that taking their shoes off is that they don't want to contaminate their feet. Now, this is actually a real concern, but if you are already preventing foreign microbes from entering your home, and assuming you clean regularly, you're just left with household bacteria. And as I mentioned before, household bacteria is actually beneficial or of no consequence to your health. And moving on from that, walking barefoot is actually very beneficial for your overall health. Now, according to Healthline, when toddlers learn to walk, they walk barefoot. Why? Well, because it improves their proprioception, which is known as the awareness of their body in space. Now, the benefits of barefoot consist of better foot control, improved balance, stronger leg and foot muscles, and improved mechanics of hips, knees, and core. According to Squat University, our feet will naturally adapt to the shape of our shoes. And as we get older, we begin to wear shoes that can make us lose these benefits because most modern day shoes are often way too narrow for our feet, which end up actually deforming our feet. If you look at this diagram, you can actually see that our feet are meant to have gaps in between our toes and have lost space before being crammed in like most modern day shoes. And this is actually one of the key factors to the previously mentioned benefits of going barefoot. Now, most well-known and famous shoe brands are known for their superior shoes, but in reality, they are honestly counterproductive to foot health because of their narrow size. Think of Vans, for example. The toe box is very narrow and it doesn't allow room for your toes to spread out and walk. Your feet were meant to be connected to the ground to have optimal usage. And though walking barefoot outside is actually relatively dangerous, there are shoes to simulate barefoot while protecting your feet. So if you ever put on your shoes and feel like your toes are being crammed in, unfortunately, they are too narrow. In conclusion, why risk bringing more bacteria that you really need into your home? Yes, you may not directly get sick from the bacteria, but in the case of overall cleanliness and overall health, why risk exposing yourself even more than you need to? While our shoes are not the largest concern because our hands still remain the dirtiest parts of our body, it is still a factor to consider in our overall cleanliness in our homes. The fact that the bacteria on the floor can end up in our foods or counters, if not carefully considered, is just a risk to our immune systems, which you can simply avoid by just taking your shoes off when you enter your home. And if that is insufficient, you can consider the benefit of the health of your feet. Going barefoot, especially if you exercise, can benefit your overall stability and foot control while keeping your home clean. So remember, next time you enter your home, don't risk your health or other people's health. Just take off your shoes. Thank you.
I think your PowerPoint was a very good tool during your presentation. It definitely helped the audience, I feel like, keep track of where you're going with your presentation with the bullet points. And also the visual aids were really good as well for the different points you were going over.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was really good. And given that I'm a germaphobe, I thoroughly enjoyed that presentation. But it's just kind of assured of my beliefs. But I really liked that presentation and the visuals, and just the topic was really interesting. So it was really good.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, for sure. What Capriana brought out, like being a germaphobe and being Asian too. My parents would like whip me for taking off my shoes, or being in like any sort of aunt's house, or like my grandparents' house especially. They would always like tell me to take off my shoes because yeah, and especially your topic on like having our feet in general, like it's our feet are super important than what most
Mhm.
people think. And yeah, it just brought up a good point. And yeah, you did have a good speech. It was very easy to understand, very easy to relate to, especially. And yeah, I thought it was very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I definitely know what it is like take off your shoes inside the house. So you giving like scientific like facts to back like that belief up, that was like pretty interesting. So I really enjoyed your speech. Like your PowerPoint was really effective, and especially your images, your choice of images was really helpful, I think, in like supporting your argument. So nice job.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
So this is my there we go. So this is my speech on why you should not fear GMOs. So I'm sure that most of you are under the impression that GMOs, or genetically modified food, is dangerous or bad for our health. But what if I told you that that wasn't the case? Countless studies and abundant research proves that GMOs do not pose any risk to our health, but in fact can benefit us more than their non-GMO counterparts. Anywho, growing up, I had always had family members expressing concerns for GMOs, and I'm sure that you all have heard people expressing concerns or even express them yourself. And I know that things that are considered unnatural or tainted can be very scary, but today I plan to inform you on what GMOs are, why they were created, as well as the impact of GMOs for our health, and lastly, what this means for the future of food and medicine. So let's start off simple. What are GMOs and why were they created in the first place? For starters, GMO stands for genetically modified organism, and let's just break that down really quick. So genetically, or genetic, referring to genes or DNA, which is a set of instructions for how cells grow and develop. Modified, meaning to change or alter something, and organism, which is just any living thing. But for the purpose of my speech, I will mostly be focusing on plants and bacteria. Now that we broke that down, let's look at why they were made and what they do for our society. As far back as we know, selective breeding has been a heavily utilized tool by farmers, and the same applies to today's society. Purdue's College of Agriculture notes that today GMOs are used to help farmers with their crops, and as we modify food to repel insects without using harsh pesticides, as well as allow plants to be more durable to survive harsh weather conditions. This allows for food to be far more accessible and affordable for you and me. Additionally, GMOs help doctors make safer, more consistent medicines and vaccines by studying and altering bacteria to help fight certain diseases and illnesses. Now that we understand what GMOs are and the main purpose that they serve, we can focus on the impact that it has on our health. But before I do that, I want to address some of the largest concerns about GMOs. Healthline.com provides a very compelling article about the concern for long-term effects, as GMOs have not been around for very long, specifically the newer form of them that we know of, which is a very fair argument. However, the process of genetically modifying things has been around for centuries, in some sense at least. It is directly comparable to selective breeding, and it has just recently become a bit more mainstream and raised more concerns because we have developed a more effective way to quote unquote selective breed with plants and bacteria, as we now have better technology to do so. Additionally, the FDA highlights that the new technology we use has been around for nearly 30 years, and they run extensive food testing to make sure what we put in our bodies is safe. Plus, countless studies have looked into the impact of GMOs on not just the human body, but also on animals, as it appears to be safe for not just us, but animals as well. And when I mention animals, they just fed animals foods with GMOs. They didn't do harsh testing or anything. Now we can focus our attention on the impact of GMOs when it comes to our health. As previously mentioned, GMOs pose no risk to our health, but did you know that in some cases, GMOs can be better than their non-GMO counterparts? Several studies via the National Academy for Science, among other highly respected health and science organizations around the world, have proven that GMO foods do not pose any risk to your health and are just as safe as non-GMOs. Again, as previously stated, they also cause no harm to us nor animals. On the flip side, sometimes, like with modified soybeans, GMO is actually better. According to the FDA, modified soybeans allow for healthier oils that replace oils containing trans fats, therefore making the GMO version a seemingly more desirable option. Furthermore, Harvard University has found that GMOs are not responsible for allergies and/or allergic reactions. Modifying the DNA of an organism does not cause allergies or an allergic reaction unless you have a pre-existing allergy to that food. But new technology may allow us to even remove allergens from certain foods. As of right now, this process is still underway. Additionally, using the process of analyzing DNA that we use to produce GMOs allows scientists to perform tests called allergenicity tests to better learn about the exact and precise proteins that exist among these foods. Such modifications and new technology allow us to have really interesting and unique ways of bettering our future. This is not just in the realm of produce, but also in the medicinal and pharmaceutical uses. So what will the future of GMOs likely look like? Well, as far as produce goes, biotechnology companies are working to be able to produce foods with higher nutritional value, as well as make produce that is more weather resistant, specifically drought tolerant. There is a lot of room for growth to achieve such improvements, but when we do so, it will make produce far more accessible and more affordable to people like us, in addition to helping the lives of farmers to have better sustaining produce. And as far as GMOs go within the medicinal and pharmaceutical industry, UConn's College of Agriculture, Health and Natural Resources notes that GMOs allow us to know the precise proteins and other things within the organism, and allows us to have more consistent vaccines and to quickly produce vaccines when necessary. So like your yearly flu shot, or when the coronavirus, when they were underway in making vaccines for the coronavirus. This allows for patients to have better medical treatment and allows for safer and more consistent medical treatment as well. To conclude, I've done my best to inform you on the reality of GMOs and hopefully persuade you to accept them yourself, or at least not hate them. So now that I've covered what GMOs are, what they look like for our health, and what the future looks like, Hopefully you don't automatically assume that they're dangerous because they're unnatural or harmful. And I call on you and request that you help stop the stigma of GMOs by informing your friends or family. And if you really want to have a direct impact, you can donate to organizations like the American Association for the Advancement of Science, which is one of the leading organizations funding GMO research, which will allow us to have a better future of health, food, and medicine. Thank you.
I think you did a good job at explaining your topic and breaking it down. The PowerPoint was very good as well. And then also just being able to kind of break down and argue against like the stigma that revolves around GMOs. I think you did pretty well with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, as a person who actually avoids GMOs, this is a very interesting topic for me to hear about. And yeah, I think you conveyed your message very well, and it was very informative. So it definitely made me question my original beliefs regarding GMOs.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting when you look into it more. Just like, I don't know, it's not exactly what I thought it was either. And then I just learned more.
I mean, I always just assumed it was, it's just bad. It was labeled non-GMO. So I
Yeah,
just
because
assumed,
it's like unnatural and like
Mhm.
different. So I totally get it. But and then just when you research it, it's kind of cool to see like what it actually is. But
Yeah.
yeah, thank you.
Nice work with your presentation. I like to say, like, the visuals were really helpful, and the way you had like text summaries up there like really helped me like follow along with what you were saying, so I could follow your argument a lot better. And so nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah, my mom personally hates GMOs. I don't know why. So she would pay like an extra buck for the bananas or something, or like the apples. I don't know. But she would come home like telling me that GMOs are bad because of Facebook. Like she's an old Asian mom. So if you know how they are, then they're just really paranoid and skeptical about of a lot of like artificial things. But your visuals really good. I thought they were really like eye catching too because of the way you created them, and you had a pretty good you had a really good speech presentation too. So I thought everything was perfect.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. It was actually a really interesting topic to research. But yeah, thank you.
The need for public transit. According to the San Diego Police, since 2015, there have been 119,498 car crashes on San Diego streets alone. These numbers do not include property-only crashes or collisions on the highways. Along with car crashes, drivers have to deal with pothole-filled roads, worsening traffic, and increasing gas prices. If you drive, you know the hassle behind owning and maintaining a car. Today, I will convince you that city investment in public transit instead of car infrastructure can resolve the issues faced by car drivers today. I will go over what car infrastructure is, what public transit is, the benefits of using public transit, potential barriers to increase public transit, and what you can do to encourage public transit development. First, what is car infrastructure? Car infrastructure is all the public infrastructure necessary for car travel. This includes roads, highways, signage, and maintenance for car infrastructure. According to usafacts.org, the United States spent 39% of the 2022 federal infrastructure and transportation spending on highway transportation, while 28% was used for public transit. Like the US government, US households also spent a lot of their budget on transportation costs. According to data from the US Bureau of Transportation Statistics, American households spend an average of $10,961 on transportation costs per year, the second highest household category behind housing. The majority of transportation costs were for car ownership and maintenance. Compared to car infrastructure, public transit is focused on moving large groups of people in fewer trips. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, fact-check information source, public transit, also known as mass transit, is the movement of people using group travel technologies. The technologies transport multiple people by using a singular vehicle, like a bus, or through multiple attached vehicles, like a train. This leads to higher efficiency as more people can be transported in one trip. Governments also subsidize transit fees, which make transit cheaper for riders. In addition, using public transit instead of driving can reduce transportation costs from car maintenance, gas, parking, or toll fees. Investing in public transit can result in many benefits. According to the Federal Transit Administration, a US government agency, transit helps disadvantaged people, such as the elderly, the disabled, and those who are unable to afford a car, to travel to places where they need to be. Public transit can also reduce traffic by reducing the number of drivers on the road. Increasing public transit leads to reduced traffic, thus improving the experience of those who continue to drive as well. Based on the 2018 research article, Can Public Transportation Reduce Accidents? Evidence from the Introduction of Late-Night Buses in Israeli Cities by Shirley Lichtman-Sayo. Traffic accidents involving young drivers were reduced by 37% in Israeli cities after the implementation of night buses. Reducing drivers on the road through increased public transit can make roads safer for everyone. And finally, according to UCLA Transportation Services, reduced traffic can lead to less air and noise pollution from cars. Besides reducing pollution, public transit can also lead to healthier communities by encouraging people to walk to and from transit stations and their destinations. Even though there are multiple benefits to improving public transit, there are still some major barriers hindering greater investment. According to the 2018 journal article, Can a Car-Centric City Become Transit-Oriented? Evidence from Los Angeles by Jenny Schwetz, Genevieve Giuliano, and Yoon Jin Shin, opening a rail station in Los Angeles only led to a noticeable increase in ridership after 5 to 10 years. The article also states that land zoning policies can hinder development of public transit because of the need to change those land policies. Politicians would be deterred from investing in public transit because of the length of time needed to develop public transit and the length of time needed to see results from improved public transit. However, by voting and communicating with politicians, public transit can be improved more quickly. If more people voted and voiced their support for public transit, politicians would be pressured to support public transit by changing land zoning policies and increasing transit investment. People can also share where public transit should be located in their communities so people can more easily access transit, which increases overall ridership. You yourself can also take action to improve public transit here in San Diego. First, you can join the Public Transit Investment or Interest Group, Circulate San Diego. Circulate San Diego works with local and governments to promote and improve public transit safe streets, and sustainable city development. More information about Circulate San Diego can be found at circulatesd.org. You can also choose to take public transit instead of driving in San Diego. If you are enrolled in 7 or more units through the San Diego Community College District, you can receive a discounted transit pass from MTS, San Diego's Metropolitan Transit Service. You can purchase a transit pass at the City, Mesa, or Miramar College accounting offices. Monthly passes are $57.60 per month, and semester-long passes are $178. According to calmatters.org, a nonprofit and nonpartisan California news organization, the Fares for Public Transit help maintain current routes and help transit agencies qualify for state and federal grants. These grants are used to improve the safety and frequency of public transit. Finally, you can express your voice to the government. According to the Brookings Institution, a nonprofit and nonpartisan research agency, there are multiple ways to do this. You can vote for public transit measures and for politicians who support public transit. You can also write to your elected representatives to support public transit development. Use the website house.gov/representatives/findyourrepresentative to find your representative and their contact info. Car infrastructure is widespread and has high costs in the United States. There are also many problems with owning and driving a car, like traffic and the cost of maintenance. Public transit can help resolve many of these problems. There are numerous benefits, such as reducing traffic, reducing car accidents, and improving community health by reducing pollution and encouraging more walking. Even though public transit may take time to implement and to show improvements, those barriers can be overcome. You can vote, talk to elected representatives, join interest groups, and take public transit to encourage public transit development in your own city. Thank you.
I think your call to action was done really well. You gave a lot of different options for your audience to participate. And it's like different levels of engagement. So I feel like the call to action was able to like include like a good amount of the audience members, depending on like how involved they want to be.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd say that your visual aids were very effective, and the way that you're kind of calling us to action with every kind of like main point in the speech was a different way to engage the audience, a different way to like make us think about what you're actually saying. So yeah, that was good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really liked your speech, and I like how you related it to a lot of different people, like with students and stuff, but you also related it to like older people who probably have cars and stuff and regular maintenance, and also just how it is like better for how it benefits everyone. But I really liked your sources and your statistics and stuff, and your speech was just very well put together and you presented it very well.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did really good. I would go to Canada sometimes and we would only take the trolley because a lot of people would be filling the roads, especially accidents that are coming into. I live here in Chula Vista, so there are a lot of accidents I can hear regularly, and I just driving by. The buses, they have their own lane there, so. And your call to action was really good. You told us what we can do and how to help out during that, sort of issue. And yeah, I thought your speech presentation is good quality.
Thank you.
Just give me a sec to share my screen. Great. Hello, everyone. The topic for today would be about the best age to allow children to use social media. Today's teen culture is mainly surrounded by social media outlets and platforms. According to recent surveys, 90% of youths aged 13 to 17 have used social media. 75% have at least one active social media presence, and 51% visit a social media site at least every day. 2/3 of teenagers own mobile devices with internet access. Teens approximately spend nearly 9 hours every day online, excluding homework time. This speech will discuss the pros and cons of the effects of social media on kids and the approximate ages that kids should be allowed to own social media accounts. Most of us here have been on social media and have seen the good and bad sides of both. What if a child saw the same things you have? I'll let you in on the benefits and drawbacks of allowing younger kids on social media. To start, what are some of the benefits? Nowadays, many kids, teens, and adults have probably made use of the internet platforms as a means of connecting with others, whether that be family, friends, or someone with similar hobbies. RaisingChildren.net tells us that preteens and teenagers use social media to have fun, make and maintain friendships, and share learning interests. Explore identities and develop relationships with family. It's an extension of their offline face-to-face interactions. For older teenagers especially, it's often a key part of how they stay connected with friends. Kids and teens also can be seen expressing themselves and using social media platforms to create a safe speaking environment that allows those with similar interests or issues to speak up and talk about themselves. Social media has made it very evident that there are many people who want to protect and care for those who want to make a voice for themselves and allow free expression of their person. Which leads us to some educational advantages. Many of us have probably gained new knowledge from social media exposure, like learning about recent politics, a cooking recipe, hygiene, trends, or a simple joke to tell. Things like these are common around the internet, which allows us to become more knowledgeable just by scrolling through our feeds. Also, sites like YouTube or Kumon have been encouraging friendly exposure to kids that advertise new learning or learning new knacks for math, reading, language, and even everyday life skills. Social media is definitely a place to look for newfound knowledge or even spread some to others. This brings us to the main argument. There are a few main drawbacks to this, like hacking, cyberbullying, or exposure to harmful material. This photo, taken by Haley Durant of Slick magazine, shows a suspicious message sent by an unknown user with an attached link. Haley Durant shares that not only do children compare themselves to other people on social media, but they are also more prone to cyberbullying. Many people throughout their lives, including me, have experienced bullying, but even more have experienced cyberbullying. Social media is an easy way to spread rumors and judge one another. And what my parents like to say is being behind a screen makes it easier for one to say things they wouldn't say to one's face. Many kids have been found to open such links, which redirect them to sites that may contain explicit content, malware, or even an internet spoofer, all for the sake of causing or advertising mature content exposure. Social media also affects children's mental health. Those who grew up on social media are more susceptible to anxiety, depression, and other psychological disorders. Studies have shown that those who spend more time on social media are more likely to endorse feelings of jealousy as they compare their lifestyles to people on social media, like celebrities, fitness influencers, etc. The final issue I would like to share is screen time concerns. From medlineplus.gov, the stats here show that most American children spend about 3 hours a day or 3 to 4 hours a day watching TV. Added together, all types of screen time can total 5 to 7 hours a day, causing many issues with sleep, vision, and even mental health. You would get these issues with being iPad kids, or my nieces and nephews would just not go outside because they would just want to spend their time on YouTube watching videos, or the younger nieces I have would just spend time on TikTok or Instagram, which causes kind of like a family, like a continental drift or something like that, because we're not really connected like that anymore. It's more of we're connected through the internet. Now that we understand both sides, it's possible to keep the benefits while minimizing the drawbacks. A way to minimize the drawbacks would be parental controls. Parental controls sound annoying, but it allows kids to understand a limit for screen time. Another important aspect would be parents teaching kids about internet safety and what to watch out for while browsing the internet. And to finish, according to recent government studies, the best age to allow a child to use social media is 13. At that age, they would have built a stronger mental standard and have already become accustomed to much of the world's common exposure. I would say the call to action here would be the parental controls and educating kids, especially like my little brother or my nieces and nephews. I would talk to them about what to watch out for, because I would not want them to see what I've seen during my time, because my parents weren't really strict on screen time, or they're like first generation Asians, so they came straight from the Philippines. They didn't understand phones. I was like the tech guy, so I was always on Instagram, I was always on YouTube, and all of that exposure has, made me susceptible to those symptoms too, of anxiety, stress, depression, because seeing that at such a young age allows for such, detrimental effects on my mental health, because I'm seeing what I'm not supposed to see as a child, because that sticks in my brain. Anyway, to conclude, yes, the right age to give kids social media is 13, and to watch out for those things, we have to be more knowledgeable and talk to our kids about that. Thank you. That's the whole speech.
I think you chose a very good topic, especially one that's pretty important with today's generation too, with technology becoming such a big part of our lives. The same thing happened with me growing up. Like, technology, as it became more and more popular, it wasn't really monitored by my family as well. So I think the topic you chose was really good. And then also incorporating your own experience makes you more personable to the audience, which would allow them to connect more with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd say you including your personal experience and kind of relating to your family members, it definitely brings a little more realism to it and a little more personal like connection between like the audience and yourself. So it made me like understand a little more of your perspective of kind of where you're standing on that topic.
Yeah, I really liked your topic and I thought it was super interesting. And I have two younger sisters, so I know I fear for them and what they see online too.
Yeah.
But I think 13 that's accurate. But I did really like your speech, and I thought that the topic was super interesting, and I thought you just presented really well. That was
Yeah,
really
I guess it's all like approximate. If your parents feel like you're at the right age and the right, mature level, then I guess it's all debatable.
yeah. But I don't know. I don't know. I think that's correct. Sorry, that was the chair. But yeah, that was a really good speech. So good job.